Well, the San Jose Sharks come out of the All-Star break with a fury in a 4-3 victory in overtime against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll be talking about that and the trade rumors heating up after this. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and would like to teal together with us, check us out across all the social media platforms, that being the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, chat, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, and everything on our website at tealtownusa.com. I am pleased to be joined by Miss Dana May. How are you doing this evening, Dana?
We're gathered here today at the Jacob Megna Memorial Podcast to discuss my second win of the season. Yay! Yes, I did it. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Okay. That's where I'm at. I'm gonna miss Jacob Megna, but looks like Karlsson isn't slowing down without him. So.
Yeah, right. It doesn't really matter who you pair with Karlsson. He just seems to continue to really play at an elite level. So it's good to see that the defense was able to kind of pick up the pieces without him. That, of course, coming out of the All-Star break over the weekend on Sunday, Jacob Megna was traded to the Seattle Kraken for a 4th-round pick in the upcoming 2020-23 draft. And I think it's a good depth pickup for Seattle. I think, again, you're trying to maximize value for the Sharks, and getting a 4th-round pick for a undrafted free agent that you were able to sign, I think really bodes well for the Sharks and just gives them a little bit more ammunition going into draft day. Dana, I mean, just quick initial thoughts on the trade. And, I mean, Jacob Megna seemed to really steady Karlsson at the beginning of the year, and they had kind of a good thing going, but able to maximize the value for sure.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's one of the first my career moves where I'm like, yeah, slam dunk, good job. Obviously, he didn't sign Megna back in the day, but yeah, but it's just found money. And he will be missed. I am really gonna, he's just like very like smiley. His kids are cute. Like, I'm gonna miss that. And of course, Erik Karlsson's wife commented on Instagram like a bunch of like sad faces about him being traded. So it seems like the team, he's like a great guy, and the team loves him. So, but it's one of those like, oh, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. He was one of the bright spots this season, and he's on his way to a contender now. So I wish him nothing but the best in Seattle, and I wish our, what was it, 5th-round pick, 4th-round? 4th-round pick. I wish whatever fetus is going to be that 4th-round pick. Oh, wait, is it this year?
Yes, it is for this year.
Oh, okay, never mind. What 18-year-old child, whoever we pick, I wish them the best as well. Sorry, whenever like people, you know how like WHL or something, they can like trade draft picks like 10 years from now. That's when I'll call that player a fetus, but
yeah, right.
I don't know. 18-year-old, just a child.
Yeah, they are still just a child. But you had Jacob McDonald coming in for this evening's game, filling in for Jacob Megna. Jacob Megna,
Not Harrington originally.
And
then they switched mid-game.
Right.
Still feeling it.
Yeah, I know, and they both start with Jacob, so it's kind of like hard to follow along, right? Jacob Megna, Jacob McDonald. But anyhow, he acquitted himself well on the short notice. But getting into the game, the Sharks would start off a little slow. stop me if you've seen this before, but the Tampa Bay Lightning and Colton getting his 11th on the season score at 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the game. And we have been continually lamenting the fact that this team gives up the first goal within 5 minutes of a period start. And here they are doing it again, seeming as if they're skating through quicksand coming out of the All-Star break. But I mean, Dana, what did you see on this one, just besides the blown coverage and the continual train wreck that is the Sharks defense?
The worst clearing attempt I've ever seen in my life, or certainly up there. It was a team effort between Ferraro and Lindblom. That's gonna be dang it. Yeah, no, this is just really dumb. That's what I saw. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like dunk on the Sharks too much because obviously they still won in the end, but
yeah,
they're gonna be watching that videotape for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mario Ferraro just, I don't know if he puts too much on it or just expects Lindblom to maybe allow that puck to bounce off of the dasher or the sideboard there, but it just seemed like somebody had a brain fart, whether it was Ferraro deciding, okay, I'm going to blast it over to Lindblom, or Lindblom just not letting it go and, taking the man instead of, going after the puck. But it just created a cacophony of issues for themselves in that defensive zone, because you just had Ross Colton kind of streaking down and Capo Kakkonen just dead to rights. He's all sprawled out, and Colton's gotten an empty 6x9 and is able to, get his 11th. So you thought that the Sharks, again, kind of would come out a little slowly after the All-Star break. It's kind of their MO. But again, that one was just one of those ones you just have to make sure that puck leaves the zone. I mean, at the bare minimum. I mean, you'd love to keep some possession there and be able to get Lindblom to at least maybe try to possess the puck and then go for another little chip pass or something, but at least allow that puck to clear the zone. However, the Sharks would draw a power play and would get a power play goal by Erik Karlsson, who we had said has been on a tear. The all-star defenseman himself gets his 17th on the season on the power play with Meier and Hurdle, and this is just one of those ones where he cocks back and just releases, and beautiful shot on net. Dana, I mean,
he doesn't look down.
Yeah, right? I mean,
that's what's so, yeah.
Like, how?
That's what I mean. Sorry,
I was just gonna say, how has he really regained his form? It seemed like before very much a trigger shy, kind of wants to be a playmaker, but now has really taken everything on himself and can shoot and can pass and can do whatever you want him to do in the offensive zone. I mean, it just seems like we're looking at a completely different player than we did see last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of things. I think lack of Burns. I don't think Burns being on the team. So, there are a lot of people like kind of reading into what dynamics may or may not have been, between like personalities. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's literally just a matter of Burns and Karlsson are redundant. And when I think it works a lot better to have that one really strong offensive defenseman, and you really don't need a second one. And David Quinn's coaching style definitely suits Karlsson better. And also like injuries, guys. Like I know it, last year and the year before it was always, oh no, Karlsson with the injuries, but it's like injuries are a thing and they do affect people's play. I guess this is news to some people. Legitimate, like, and when people say like in previous years, oh, he's washed. What is he, 31? Like, especially, if he were a forward, yeah, it's on the older side, but like defenseman, that's often late 20s, 30-ish. That's can be the prime for a lot of people. So I was not surprised. Um, yeah, it's been good to see. And it's been a bright spot this season. But I'm fully convinced about him winning the Norris as long as everything continues as it has, because I don't think you can argue with the numbers. Like, it's funny to see hockey media, that kind of thing, sit there and try and come up with a reason not to give it to him. Because other than the Sharks being bad, I feel like if you're the best defenseman and you're on a horrible team, like, double points to you.
Agreed. I think that, he's just got that groove back. He's got that um, real, I guess, just the sense to know when to jump into a play, know where to outlet the puck to. And he's just able to really kind of predict the game and let the game kind of come to him versus, I don't know, I was seeing a player that was trying to force a lot of things before, and, really seeing a player that was kind of in his own head onto when he should be shooting versus when he should be passing. So, I think for me at least, it's just seeing a player that's returned to form and returning to a guy that we knew was somewhere in there, but had just taken a little while to adjust or get through the injuries or what have you. So, again, it's good to see Erik on the ascent, and I hope he can continue to be a piece that the Sharks can use to build around, because he's one of the few stars that we have on the team that are a legitimate superstar type of
Yeah.
offensive defenseman. So, and he's playing like it right now.
Yeah.
Go.
Sorry, a little more on Karlsson. I thought of something. So yeah, I like that he has a little bit more of a shoot first mentality, because um, I've noticed a lot, even when he does take a shot, maybe it, bounces off the goalie, maybe it goes somewhere else. Someone can usually pick that up and then, put it in. But when he does have those moments where he's out there, he's, far back, and he just, like, sees this eagle eye, a spot that the goalie is not covering, and he just knows, and he doesn't even look down when he shoots. Like, he's just like, I know where the puck is. I'm keeping my eye on the prize. Like, it is beautiful to watch. It is just, I love it. Saving grace of the Sharks. Okay, now you may continue. I needed to go on another Karlsson spiel.
Well, the good feelings unfortunately wouldn't last, because the Sharks would go on to the penalty kill, and Braden Point getting his 30th on the season. I mean, this is just literally NHL 99 or NHL 23, whatever. Whatever, pick your poison, but just video game like, tic-tac-toe into the back of the net. The Sharks were really just unable to really mount a sustained defense. And, this one is just one of those ones you got to just tip your hat to a better team. And I thought that was really personified on that power play. What did you see from Tampa Bay's power play, Dana, that looked like it was exposing something in the Sharks?
I mean, the Sharks PK has not had the best track record recently, so there's that. But I agree. Like, I think Tampa just did a really good job, and I can't really point to, like, one particular F up on the Sharks' part in that case. What's his name? I was about to say Colton Point. I'm like, no, that's not right. Braden Point, he's just a really good player. And he did well tonight.
And the Tampa Bay Lightning would get the lead there at 2-1. And really, in that latter half of the first period, it looked like the Sharks were kind of on the back foot and allowing a lot of shots to be kind of funneled towards the net, towards Kakkonen. Braden Point would end up scoring again, getting his 31st of the year. Sergachev and Kucherov with the assists at 16:44, which, again, I mean, we could talk about the defensive blunder, and we could talk about how, again, these continual mess-ups will really just, yeah, sorry. Pup is kind of being a little rascal there. No, but again, it just those defensive lapses, and it's a bad team playing a good team, right? And I think that really defensively aligning and all of that, kind of technical side of it, it just gives way to the star power, and Braden Point is a darn good player in this league, and he, is consistent. So again, you kind of had the feeling that this was going to go south, especially because of the Sharks seemingly, having probably their best game of the season prior to the All-Star break. You really didn't know what you were going to get out of the team coming out of it. But, they stayed resilient, and I think they went into that first intermission, and I think, kind of regrouped a little bit and had their coming to Jesus moment or whatever they needed to have in that first intermission. Because in the second, they played a lot more of a clean game, and I felt like it was really locked down, and it seemed like those passes that they were missing up in the first period, allowing Tampa Bay to come back into the zone and allow them to create offense off of their miscues, they really cut a lot of that out in that second period. And again, it kind of looked like a team that woke up and decided, hey, we're going to play some hockey today. And, I think for the most part, carried most of the play in that second period. Dana, did you see anything in the second that you thought maybe would be a precursor to what we saw in the third and in overtime?
They just had a little more pep in their step. I think they really realized, like, we are going toe to toe with this team. They got shelled 7-1 last night by a clearly worse team. Not as bad as the Sharks, but in maybe the same realm, somewhere in their mediocrity to and I think the Sharks realize, like, we do have a chance here. And I think that that led to good things. I will say, what was the final shot count? Because I know it was like super skewed, especially in the second.
So the final shot count was 37-22 overall. And in that second period, it was San Jose 7 shots with Tampa Bay having 5 shots. Now,
okay, I guess I was like looking at the totals, but I think it was also not Brian Elliott's best night ever. I'm looking. It looks like he was sporting an 818. So I think the Sharks caught him kind of out of position a few times, which definitely helped. But I do think there did become more a sense of, like, we are going toe to toe with them. Even at that point, that Tampa was still in the lead, but they had a chance, and they probably also maybe got the sense that that their goalie wasn't well, first of all, it wasn't Vasilevsky in net, and second of all, Elliott wasn't having the sharpest night.
Yeah. Well, the Sharks would end up capitalizing, though, on a power play themselves, and Timo Meier gaining his 29th goal of the season with Barabanov and Couture getting the assists. And that would make it 2-3, and that come in the 16:23 mark of the second period. So, the Sharks were, I think, at that point, playing well, but then allowed seemingly another goal to Tampa Bay that came off the board with a great challenge by Quinn and the coaching staff, and able to continue to preserve the 2-3 lead that Tampa had instead of looking down to 2-4. lead against Tampa, which coming into this game had been, I think, 20-0 when leading after 2 periods. So kind of crazy. But the Sharks coaching staff, I mean, great to see that they were paying attention on that goal. I mean, it seemed like they might be mulling it over for a couple of seconds because it seemed like there was a little bit of indecision on, okay, are we going to do it or are we not going to do it? Because they panned over to the Tampa Bay coach's John Cooper's bench, and I mean, he just looked like, okay, what are we doing here? Is this good or is this not? But no, David Quinn would end up issuing the challenge, and the Sharks would again come out on the right side of a call. I mean, we kind of have seen the offsides call go against the Sharks, especially because of that whole deeming what is possession, what isn't possession conversation. But again, I mean, the Sharks, great that they decided to pull the trigger there. And again, I think you got a little bit of momentum going into that third period because you had the feels like, okay, we're hanging around. You know, this Tampa Bay team, is feeling it. And again, they got throttled last night, so maybe we can try to take advantage of this situation. So going into that third period, Jonah Gadjevich would score 3 minutes and 8 seconds into the third. So, giving the Sharks the tie very early on in the third. And it seemed like the Sharks did an okay job at having a little bit of back and forth, especially in the first part of the third period. I felt that the team did a good job counterpunching with Tampa Bay. It seemed like, one team would gain possession and then they would give it up to the other team, and kind of have that flowing type of game that you like to see, that back and forth type of game. But I think I'd say the latter half of that third period, it looked like the Sharks were just hanging on for dear life, because the shot counter would end up being 7-15. And I think really you got to give a point out of this game has to go to Kaapo Kähkönen with some of the saves that he was making. And I mean, Dana, what did you see from Kaapo that was allowing them to stay in it in the third and just like a dog treading water?
Yeah. I'm happy to see him succeed because I have never been as down on him as some people are. I think if we were to put him in front of a better team, he'd probably have better numbers. Same with Adin Hill. But I think it probably boosted his confidence a lot that, he had a great game the previous game. And so David Quinn said, all right, you're out, go get him, Tiger. Especially against a really good team on most other nights except yesterday. I'm not inside his head, but I think that was probably a confidence booster, and he just, stayed where he needed to be and made the saves he had to, and definitely bailed the Sharks out. So I think I don't know who the top 3 stars are or whatever, and so I don't know, but I hope Kähkönen is among them.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like we had both kind of mentioned, really keeping the team in it and allowing them to escape into the overtime. Timo Meier would end up scoring 2 minutes and 19 seconds in. The Sharks had a couple of close calls at the beginning of the overtime, but really managed to start possessing the puck a little bit after the Lightning were able to, like I said, establish a couple of good zone chances, but not really anything too dangerous. The defense of the Sharks had done a pretty good job of keeping Tampa Bay kind of flat-footed, and Timo was able to rush it up the ice and able to really put a great shot on kind of one of those garbage 50-50 type pucks, and able to give the Sharks the win. So he's able to get to 30 goals on his campaign already, and Karlsson getting the assist and Hurdle getting the assist there. That'd be Karlsson's 52nd, and Hurdle's 31st. So again, just the stars of the Sharks finally, breaking through, and keeping the good mojo that they had started with Pittsburgh. So a nice little 2-game winning streak against a couple of good Eastern Conference teams, and away we go from there.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Now get back to tanking. Dana doesn't need to be on any more wins. Two is fine for me.
Yeah, and we had joked a little bit off of air on just what's that doing for Timo's trade value. Now, we've talked about it a lot. I think we've both kind of said that this is a player that you would love to keep around because he's a very unique talent and something that doesn't really come all that often. But the reality of the situation is he's a pending restricted free agent. The sides haven't really talked about any kind of extension. It seems to have been very quiet. And there's been a lot of interest from a lot of different teams on this particular player. And you're getting a marquee type power forward and a guy who can plug into your top line and just be that difference maker that you need. It sucks that we are talking about him with these kind of adjectives and talking about like he's already been traded. But I think, Dana, the writing's kind of on the wall that I don't think he's sticking around.
I don't know, because honestly, I thought the writing was on the wall with Hurdle because it was like, oh, radio silence, like what's going on? And then all of a sudden he had a contract, and lots of teams were interested in him. So, I mean, I don't think he's not going to be traded necessarily, but it's more like I'll believe it when I see it, because radio silence could also just be an indicator of, Mike Greer and co wanting to, keep everything under wraps and not let this distract Timo or other players or whatever it may be. So I don't know. I think no news is no news. But obviously there has been a lot of interest from other teams. He's one of the number one players being talked about now for trade deadline, now that Horvat's off the board. And if anything, I'm just happy to see a Shark player other than Karlsson getting any sort of positive attention from anyone else in the league. That in itself is refreshing. Maybe I'm a sadist. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just the thing that bothered me, and I think we had talked about it a little bit before, but it just seems like it's the buzzards circling around that carcass. And I don't love the fact that the team is being dissected for pieces and that can go which way or that. And talking about a player who's a homegrown and drafted in the first round, and one of the ones that it took a long time to get that player and get a player of his ilk to develop.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's kind of a crappy feeling, but you do need to get the maximum value you can for him. And I think he's a piece that is probably the most attractive off of this roster, if I'm being completely honest.
Oh, you're telling me that Erik Karlsson with his $11 bajillion contract is not number one on the trade bait list?
Yeah, right. Shocker.
No. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Timo was kind of our consolation prize for being really bad in 2015. And that was obviously just super disappointing playoffs the year before. Super disappointing season that year, and a lot of questions about like, what is this team? Where are they headed? And they drafted 9th overall and they knocked it out of the park. And the next season they were in the Cup Finals and Timo played a few games. So I don't know. I still have hope, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I just hope that I hope in the future we don't have to trade away players like Jacob Megna or Jake Middleton. Those are guys you want to keep too, you know? And
Yeah, a good
we
team
only
keeps
had to
those
move them.
players. Yeah.
Right, right. I mean, ideally you you should have at least a few more genuine top four defensemen, but yeah, yeah. I hope in the future we can keep players like that, and also that the draft picks we're getting for those players and for Timo and for whoever else, any other trades, please just draft well.
Right.
I know there was a lot of skepticism about Philip Bystead. I didn't pay attention to the World Juniors. Didn't he do pretty well?
Yeah, no, I think he did. I think he
Yeah,
did
so
well, and I felt that he did a lot to develop his game. And again, another year over in Sweden, I mean, is going to help his development. So, I think
yeah.
he's on the right path. It's too early to know kind of what he projects out to be yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I just know people were like, bust. Like, why would the Sharks waste this pick? They could have had Brad Lambert, whoever else. Um, so I don't know. I'm not, the jury's out on Mike Greer and co drafting. Uh, so yeah, don't screw up the draft picks because a draft pick is a bag of magic beans. Or is it magic or are they just lima beans? I don't know. So
well, they're
yeah,
going to have to
draft
be.
picks are great, but you got to draft well.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to hit on these to really try to get themselves out of this tailspin. Because it's clear that the talent deficiency on the team is pretty wide when you consider it against a real contender or a real playoff
Tampa.
ready. Yeah, Tampa, exactly.
Not tonight.
And it was sheer luck that the Sharks. I mean, whether it be luck or whether it just be having a little fresher legs, but I mean, it really razor thin margin. Type of a win tonight, and again, it just should show to be a barometer of where the team is at, and that I think it can punch above its weight class every once in a great while, but on the majority of nights, it's going to be overmatched by teams with more stars, maybe more physicality, and stronger center depth against. Because I still think that the team is a center short. Still think the team is a winger short. And again, we didn't even get into Kevin LeBanc being scratched tonight, but you just wonder what's happening to him and, where he fits in all of this. So I think that there continue to be more questions to this Sharks team than there are answers. And unfortunately, wins kind of cloud that because, we really do need the team to suck so we can get some draft back.
And stop having games go to overtime. I mean, at least they won this one. Excuse me. Would have been worse if they had yet another overtime loss.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, again, the Sharks were able to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-3 in overtime. Timo Meier getting the overtime winning goal. And again, it's going to be a fascinating trade deadline. That is for sure. We'll see where the team ends up going along. If it's going to stand pat or trade off the periphery, or we will get a big Meier trade or maybe something else. But in case you missed it and you want to check us out again, check us out across all of the social media, all of the podcasting platforms, that being the Apple Podcast Store, the Google Play Store, the YouTube Rewind, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and I think we have Audacity as well. I think this is one of the older graphics. But with that being said, Miss Dana, what are your final thoughts? Oh, final thoughts, post-it counts, and where the people can find you.
My final thoughts are, um, goalies can make or break your game, and for better or worse. And uh, yeah, at least the Sharks, if you're gonna take it to OT, just win. um, so yeah, they did that. And you can find me at Dana Meyy on Twitter and Instagram. You can also follow my cat at Margie underscore the Queen on Instagram. I care more about her account than mine.
Go check her out. Go check out Margie the Queen. And as far as my final thoughts, it's good to cover a win every once in a great while. Can't lose your sight on the main objective, though. I think Connor Bedard wearing a Shark jersey we should manifest that and really see it in the mind's eye, because that's what I would be hoping for a good long dominant period for the Sharks, especially with how we've been going for the last 3 or 4 years. But as far as where you can find me, you can use my first name, that's Erik, last name Landi, across all the social media garbage. And for everybody at tealtownusa.com, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real, Teal, and we'll see you after the next game. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.